Although I will say, and I don't want to go into super detail, and this is just hypothesis, but I've gotten a number of emails from indie game companies talking about review codes for upcoming Switch indie games, and they say that the date cannot be said, but the date is coming soon. This to me indicates that there is going to be maybe an indie world, but an indie world could be right around the corner. I think it's very weird that companies are saying the release date is sooner than you think, and we don't have a release date. Like, why?
Like I used to say back in the day, hashtag trust SwitchForce. Nintendo announced an indie world just like I thought they would. So good morning, Mario, and good morning, Switch fans. The biggest news of the day is that we've got a Nintendo Switch indie world dropping tomorrow, the first direct since February. This one focused on indie games, and I thought after seeing multiple titles say, hey, we've got a release date coming sooner than you think, that we were due. And it does bring into question, like, is the original plan for an indie world, then a direct, then the Switch 2 reveal still on the table? Is this shaking up the shakeup that we thought was already shook? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. But what's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. Tomorrow, I'll be live streaming this indie world at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern. So that means we'll get started about 6:30 a.m. Pacific, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, and we will rock and roll through this indie world presentation where maybe Hollow Knight Silksong will be dropped, will be announced, we'll get a release date, we'll get a new trailer. I mean, we do have the ratings boards popping up in Australia and Korea and the ESRB. It's been coming up everywhere, so I feel like it is going to drop very soon. I expect the game to be a premium price point for an indie title. Like, to me, $30-$40 makes sense given how much time and effort and how big this game is supposed to be. Team Cherry has said before that the scope of Hollow Knight Silksong has far exceeded what they initially intended it to be. I know indie worlds typically don't have repeat visitors. They typically don't have games that come back and say, oh, remember us? We're out now. And I know a lot of people think that Hollow Knight Silksong should be at a direct itself, or maybe it'll get revealed at Xbox's Summer Showcase, but I want to say that Nintendo's year is very weird. They don't have an April game. We don't really know who Hollow Knight is aligned with in terms of marketing deals. We thought it was Nintendo, and then we thought it was Xbox, and now we don't know because nothing's been said for over a year. So what will it be? When will it be? I hope it's tomorrow. I give it like a 50-50 shot. And it's interesting because if you notice in Nintendo's tweet, they've worded it differently than the last 4 or 5 indie worlds. They said, tune in tomorrow for roughly 20 minutes of announcements and updates on indie games headed to Nintendo Switch in 2024. And previously, they just said, like, headed to Nintendo Switch. They never specified a year because previously, a lot of the indie games would get announced with no date or would be coming out the following year. I think this might be twofold. One, it might indicate that, yes, we are due for some bigger announcements, like a Hollow Knight, but it also might indicate, like, the Switch is donezo after 2024, so we're just going to say these games are coming out in 2024 because we have a totally different plan and a totally different slate for the next console and 2025's release cadence and schedule. But I'm excited regardless because does this bring back any believability into Brazil's earlier rumor that he since has said don't believe anymore? His rumor was that there would be an indie world, then a direct, then a Switch 2 reveal. Now, the indie world that he predicted was going to be in March. That obviously has passed. So the timetable may have shifted, and it could very well be that this all happens in spite of Brazil. We could get an indie world tomorrow, we could get a direct in June, and we could get a Switch 2 reveal in July, and it still will be 1, 2, 3, but not the 1, 2, 3 that he called out. Because his call out was for a Nintendo Direct to take place in April, sometime before the traditional June slot. Now, I don't want to breed false hope, and I do believe that his rumor is kaputs, but based on what I discussed earlier, where I was talking about a Metroid Direct, some big marketing move in May, according to Jeff Grubb, tied to Metroid, Nintendo could conceivably do an indie world tomorrow, and then a Metroid Direct in May, and then a big general Direct later on, either in June or July, August, September, any of those things. But there is a world where we do get a bunch back to back. The leakers may not know everything. The insiders may not be spot on. They might be spot off. They might be wrong about their wrongs, right about their wrongs, wrong about their rights, right about, I don't know. We really don't know, so I think we just gotta take it as it comes. I don't think anything's off the table, and it's good to know that Nintendo is not in power down mode. The fact that we're getting an Indie World tomorrow says, like, okay, Nintendo's alive, they're planning things, they have games, get ready, it should be good. And we will be getting stealth drops tomorrow no matter what. That always happens at Indie Worlds, and I think Little Kitty Big City is going to be something that takes place. I have a sweet kitty. I don't think anyone's ever seen. Oh, he does not want to be lifted up. Okay, I'm sorry, buddy. You take your nap. He loves to sleep right under my lights while I record, and he's all stretched out, feet on the keyboard. Anyhow, I have a cat, so a little kitty big city game could be fun for me to play, and I'm hoping there's some interesting stealth drops tomorrow as well. One of them... Is there any way Nintendo can run an early access on Switch? I don't think so, but I have to bring this up because it does time into tomorrow, and maybe we'll just get a new trailer. But Hades 2 announced that early access is starting soon, and we know that Hades 2 is coming to Steam first, early access on Steam. You can actually sign up right now for a technical test on Steam, which is supposedly going to precede early access, but Greg Kasavin of Supergiant Games said, hey, it's coming soon, early access, get ready. And why announce that right before an Indie World? Is there going to be a new trailer tomorrow? Have they found a way to do some sort of early access on Switch? Nintendo and Hades were very closely tied. In fact, Hades was the bell ringer for a Indie World of the past. That was the big game, and it was out, and people were very excited to play it, even though I recommend it on Steam or Steam Deck because the frame rate is better there. Regardless, why is Hades 2 saying this now, and could there be some tie-in tomorrow? I think there could be. I still don't believe there's any way to get an early access thing going on Switch. I mean, it's much more likely to be Steam or partner with Xbox because they have more of an early game initiative, but a trailer could be there. And maybe this is going to end up being a really star-studded indie world, because how many more indie games are there out there that we need to port over to the Switch versus new indie games? I feel like so many of the titles have been brought over. Can you think of a game that you really need on Switch that is elsewhere? Maybe Marvel Snap will show up. Marvel Snap is my favorite game. It's not really an indie. I don't think it belongs in an indie world. That's more of a direct type thing. I can't even think of another game that I love playing that I wish was on Switch in the indie space, because so many of them are there. I think it's just time for new titles. And maybe that's why Nintendo is just putting this out now, 2024 focus, announcements and updates, and we're going to be ready to go. They do say updates. They've always said updates, so they're opening the door for a repeat visitor. They're opening the door for Hollow Knight to be there. I really think it's 50-50. What do you think? I think it's a 50-50 chance, and I gotta say, just this is my prediction, I think that barring some big crazy surprises from developers that we're not anticipating, if Hollow Knight is not there, I think this might be a letdown. We'll wait and see. I'll live stream it tomorrow with all y'all, and we'll watch and we'll figure out if it's going to be a glorious one or not. But there should still be shadow drops. There should still be fun things to play. I think that's one of the most exciting things about the modern era. I know people often complain about oh, we're losing access to our games, digital versus, physical, blah, blah, blah. It's getting worse. They're charging more. But one thing I do love is shadow drops was not something that happened when I had my Super Nintendo. Shadow drops was not something when I had my DS. Shadow drops was not something on the GameCube. It wasn't a thing. And now we have a legitimate, frequent occurrence of shadow drops of small games, indie games, big games, remasters, ports, etc. It's really fun, and I'm excited to dive into that regardless. Even if it's not Hollow Knight, even if it's not Hades, there could be something very exciting, a gem, something Nintendo feels good about to bring an indie world forward, because they don't have to do this, but it does fit in with their schedule, and it tells me that they are still on some general schedule. They didn't have a general direct in February, but they did have a presentation, a partner showcase. They're doing the April indie world, so they very well likely will do a June direct, and I think that's the biggest thing to bank on right now. April Indie World tomorrow, June Direct, that feels like kind of where things are headed, but I wouldn't throw out the possibility of an earlier Direct or a Metroid Direct. It's still out there. Now, we also know that Nintendo is bringing a game trial to the United States for the first time in a bit. I feel like I've seen numerous titles pop up for the European eShops for their game trials, but we're getting NBA 2K24, a week to play the game from the 17th to the 24th, and then I believe your save data should transfer over. It'll probably coincide with the sale on the game on the eShop. Maybe you're not interested in basketball, but it's actually a pretty solid game trial. The fact that it's not an indie game, the fact that it is a more AAA retail game is pretty darn nifty. And I think they should do these more often, and I'd love to see them do them with some Nintendo titles, but that don't really happen. I mean, they've done some demo play for Mario Tennis Aces and things of that sort, but not a full game trial where oh, hey, you can play Pikmin 4 for a week, or let's go back even to year one, Mario Odyssey for a week, or Snipper Clips for it would be great if they did that. But 2K24, at least we're getting some free game trial, and like I said, the cogs are moving. I do think this is good, and when machinery starts moving at Nintendo, usually more machinery moves. I feel like they're a company based on momentum. We do know they've got that May 7th target date for their shareholders meeting, so Indie World Switch 2, like tease announcement, direct, all these things are possible, but at least we're back on track with something good after it really felt like doom and gloom for a few days there, maybe about a week's time, where it was like, they're not announcing anything. The rumors have been disproven, and it kind of feels like it sucks. Hollow Knight could completely shift my take on the full quarter. If Hollow Knight ends up being April Nintendo Switch release title, like, that would be amazing. I think it could sell just as well as a Shadow Drop as it could with a release date. Like, pre-orders on an eShop indie title aren't going to be that crazy. Does Nintendo have the oomph to get the announcement? Because it is going to be a big one, but it's not as big as, like, the next Fallout, obviously. So maybe Microsoft doesn't care too much about having it at their summer showcase. We'll find out tomorrow. I think this is as good of a chance as any. All those ratings boards, classifications have popped up for some reason. It's got to be coming soon. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'll see you tomorrow on the live stream. Until then, thanks so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. Love you lots. SwitchForce out.